Greetings, YouTube. I'm about to shut up because this is a hijacked style interview that somebody suggested, and I thought it was a joke, but enough people wanted it that I said, okay, but if we do this, we have to do this right. And so I reached out to the most popular interview series person so far. It wasn't Kabam Broccoli. It wasn't Legacy. It wasn't KT1. Love all those people. It was Katy Candy. I have not looked at the questions. I think it gives you the best interviews when you actually have to think about the questions on the spot and you're not prepped. So I'm just excited to do this. Thank you to everybody who submitted them. I thought we'd get like 10 to 15, and I think we got like close to 50 maybe. I don't know. Katie has exact numbers, but Katie's also got questions that aren't in there. So you want to talk about some wild cards. So Katie, thank you for saying yes to this, as you were the top requested person to interview me, and it's so great to talk to you again in general.
I am so happy you asked me to do this because, as most of you know, we are Battle Realm besties. So who better to interview you than me? Well, maybe your brother.
No, I think they don't have the laugh that you do. Everybody...
Probably not.
No. And last time we had a great time, and people just thought we were trash drunk the whole time. So we'll see if we create that illusion again.
I mean, we probably will. I'm stone cold sober, so
I am too. This is water, but it probably looks like something else.
I have a green tea, so let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So now I'm going to save my questions for a little bit later on because they're a tad bit maniacal, of course. Why wouldn't they be?
How scandalous.
I know, right?
On brand.
So the first question we're going to get into this one from Joseph Nichols, who says, Roots was originally a side event mechanic, then it was introduced as part of Kraven's card. With that said, how do you think Strikers will be implemented in the future?
So, Strikers was way more fun to me than Roots. Roots is like the band you see on Jimmy Fallon, right? And you're like, I think it should stay there.
It's also a great song by In This Moment.
Boom. Perfect. That's why you're doing this. You know, I think sparingly, it kind of reminds me, like, some people were actually kind of excited, I don't know why, about having new nodes like True Focus that made things challenging to not use somebody like Quake or Ghost. But all in all, I think maybe a couple times, maybe just for a side quest. But in general, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I still think at the end of the day, the reason why people watch my channel is because a lot of people who play this game, they just do it casually. Like Katy Candy and I. Like, you're not looking to be like, oh man, I gotta get Roots into this new content or else I'm gonna quit. Like, no, you're doing it to relax. And Roots to me wasn't even relaxing. It was more like, oh, why am I frozen in place like I'm in quicksand? Oh yeah, that thing that's supposed to make other people feel like Quake. Even though I have Quake for that, so why would I want Omega Red to do that?
Exactly.
Right? Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is dumb. And then I just hated it more as it went along.
Yeah, I remember when Roots was kind of just in the testing, I wasn't a big fan of it.
I don't know who thought of it. I'm like, why not spend the time you thought on this dumb thing and fix the game?
I do, but I forget. Fair. All right. Chocoholic. It's a great name.
It's a wonderful name.
It's a wonderful name. Says, I have a different question. Everyone keeps asking you, how would you change the game, etc. My question, how has the game changed you as a person, both good and quote unquote bad? And if you could get a do-over with the past few years you have played the game, what would you do differently? Those are two good questions.
Those are good questions. And I'm sure you have your own answers that you could give to those questions. So when I started playing this game in 2015, I had a soul. I now don't have a soul because
that sounds about right.
The arena addiction has taken its toll. I haven't taken a break from grinding the arena in like 7 years, and that is about as bad of a like confession as it gets. I plan my entire day around this game. And thankfully, they've done a little bit of quality of life adjustment to where you don't have to worry about as much in terms of moving an alliance quest or link nodes. But for the most part, like, especially once my channel took off and I promised my 53 subscribers back in the day that I would review every offer. Like when noon Central Standard Time hits, I feel a commitment to be at my computer, refreshing the game, ready to review whatever needs to be talked about, because every second that I don't talk about something, the Marvel Casino Champions Addiction is getting another sucker from a scam offer, unless it's a pro player offer like this past weekend, or like a $5 Nexus Crystal for Cavalier players and above, like we also saw in the last 24 hours of the time of recording this. But in general, like, I don't remember what it was like. That's why I'm kind of like envious of Katy Candy right now, because since she's walked away from the game, she's jumped off the hamster wheel. But for me, I don't know what it's like to not wake up and think, maybe I should auto fight to spend some energy in an event quest, and it's hero use, so I might as well do 1 energy per tile to get more fights in. Who am I going to rank up next and do a video on level up? Like, that's the bad. The good is that I was very depressed and lonely before I downloaded this game, because I teach college classes, and I do so from August until May. And then, like, 4.5 months out of the year, I don't do anything. And none of my family lives in Oklahoma. The closest is 8 hours away in Texas. And so I just have so much downtime and not a lot of people my age to hang out with. Most of the people I hang out with are at my church, and they've either died in the past 5 years, will probably die in the next 10. So this community has given me a chance, from Katy Candy to Mama Bear to so many countless others, to feel like I have a social gathering that is completely not dependent on in person, which means the pandemic has not wrecked it. It's actually strengthened it, which is incredible. So my self-esteem, my self-worth, all of the above has gone up at the exact time that my mom has once again risked being homeless because of her mental health issues and physical issues. And so as my YouTube channel continues to hopefully at least stay steady, I continue to save every penny I'm not spending on the game or giving to Uncle Sam to try to help my mom not be homeless once she can't work anymore in her minimum wage-ish job. And so that's given me a purpose where every video I create, even if it's a 5-star hunt that you hate and it makes 32 cents, that 32 cents goes to my family and helps my mom hopefully not be homeless anymore. And so that's actually made me even more excited to keep doing YouTube, because I get to take care of my family little by little.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you do that. That just shows like how big your heart is, you know?
Well, and here's the key, kids. Oklahoma cost of living, because every day is like the book of Revelation with the weather. Dirt cheap. So
Book of Revelation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In 1 hour, we once had a hail, wind, earthquake, tornado, and fire warning.
Oh my gosh. Add some dogs and cats living together and you've got mass hysteria, Ghostbusters style.
You do, but the Ghostbusters wouldn't be here because they don't get paid enough. Right? Like it's that bad. So, dirt cheap. I saved 80% of my teaching paychecks, which are about $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year after taxes. And I, after a couple years, paid off my $70,000 house in like 3 years. Paid off my 10-year mortgage in 3 years and saved up, bought my car. So I have no debt. I paid off all my student loans. And so now everything I make, I just get to basically give to my family or save. And so to me, like, yeah, I could get a bigger house or a different car or travel, but it's best to just take care of other people while you're here.
Yeah.
And I'm not married. I don't have any kids. Again, I already cleared that I don't have a soul. So I'm just kind of here.
Well, that kind of leads us to this next question from Birdjoy, because he or she says, would love to know where you find the time to be a full-time professor and play this crazy game as much as you do. And like, I feel that question because I know what I played. It was full-time job, making videos, streaming, and then the game in itself was like, you had no time for like anything else, essentially.
So my students look at me and they think, God, that guy must not have a life. And you know what? They're absolutely right. First off, I think I didn't answer the last question fully because it didn't ask, like, what's one thing that I wish I could have done differently.
Yeah. I forgot about that, yeah.
No, you're good. I think one thing that I wish I could have done differently was not at the time, because remember when 4 stars used to be like 5 stars and we used to worry about grinding for them? I remember grinding for 3 stars in the arena. I spent so much time grinding for 3-star champions in the arena because there was a time where once the 5-star featured crystal went away, that champion was retired. We were never going to see them again.
Right.
If I had known back then that that's a lie and that they would eventually just get added, you know how much time I could have saved? I'm like, I got to get this Howard the Duck 3-star. I don't want him to go away. This 4-star. Oh my God. Now it's like, I think I spent 75,000 5-star shards back when it was like a month to get 1,000 5-star shards on Howard the Duck featured crystals. Didn't get him. I think the best champion I got was like Drax. And I look back on that and I'm like, past me, you're a loser. So that's what I wish I could have that time back and that knowledge to know, oh, just save all those shards. Oh, by the way, don't spend them on the new featured 6-star crystal either, because eventually you'll get Killmonger and Void, who you're going for in the basic. Yeah, I got impatient because Kabam promised us we'd never see him again. They broke that promise, and I have trust issues.
That's fair. That's fair. And that was Howard the Duck before he got his buff.
Yeah, Howard the Suck. Howard the truly suck. Can't doggy paddle his way out of a pond. So the new question is, how do I have time to do everything?
Yes.
Let me break down my daily schedule to you. I do this.
I want to hear this daily schedule because like it's got to be wild.
I do this 7 days a week. My goal when I first started teaching college, and I do love my real job, was to be such a good professor that students would want to be professors and I could inspire future educators. But my students have literally told me long before I played this game, I see your work ethic, I see how much you do, I don't want to be you. I want to have a life outside of my job. And I think, that's fair. So I teach usually Monday through Thursday or sometimes Monday through Friday, and I have to get to my office at Oklahoma State University by 7:30, 8 o'clock. So my best time to record videos, especially because I still drop now like 7 a day without my live streams factored in, is to record and have a folder of all my submissions from like midnight to 2 a.m. And so I record a lot of my crystal opening commentaries, my rants about forum posts, submissions for champion buffs, all that. I record between midnight and 2 a.m. And so I can, between midnight and 2 a.m., record like 7 or 8 videos. So the cool thing is I can record 7 videos, usually between 3 to 6 minutes each, that then I can space out every couple hours on my channel to know that I'm actually rewarding my subscribers for subscribing to my channel. They'll have content that next day. That's not counting.
Right.
So because you never want to plan on an offer entering the game because you don't know if an offer is going to be there.
Right.
And I just assume it's not going to be. So on top of that, from like 9 p.m. to midnight, I am responding to every message in my inbox. It takes me... Sorry.
That's why, like, I love that you do respond to people because I think that's why people do really love coming to your channel and everything, because if they do reach out to you, you are going to, you know, give a response back.
I appreciate that. And sometimes people, like, they view me as a friend. I even had somebody the other day who was like, you're my best friend. I'm like, I've never even seen your face. I don't know what your name is. But
Hey, this is my Battle Realm bestie, guys.
Exactly, territorial. But the problem is you don't want to hurt their feelings because they keep Facebook messaging you or Twitter DMing you over and over again about their account or questions. And it's like, I have 5,000 messages to respond to in the next 3 hours. And I can't afford to keep this friendship going so digital, you know, the quantity is too big. So sometimes I have to say, hey man, I really appreciate your messages, but I just have like 5,000 messages to respond to. If I was to show you my phone, I have 1,200 unread email submissions for commentaries that are backlogged from like 2 years ago that I still haven't been able to get to because my first priority is Line and then Twitter. And then even though I ask people, please don't DM me on Instagram, I don't respond. Instagram doesn't even allow me to keep things. People still do it. But yeah, I spend more time responding to people per day than I do playing the game or creating videos. That's how crazy it is. And so my live streams, usually I've now hammered out from 9 to 9:30, and so when I say 9 to midnight that I respond to, it's really 9:30 to midnight, and then from 8 to 9 before. So I put out about 4 hours a day to respond to messages. which is a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. But I think that's one of the reasons why you are so popular too, is because you do, reach it. Like I said before, if someone asks you a question or anything like that, you're going to respond back, which is great. I try to do that, but I was really bad at it.
That's okay. Well, my mistake is that I made my subscribers, and again, it was like 50 subscribers when I started my channel. I made 2 promises. Number 1, that I would grade every offer, no matter how small that there was that came into the game. Well, I've been able to do that fairly easily. But the other promise was, like, if you message me, I will respond, because I've met people in the community that I think I want to be friends with, including yourself at the top of the list for the rest of my life. But I've also met some people and it's like, oh, that person was kind of a jerk to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I don't want to be that person that people have to say never meet your heroes, because the image of them isn't the reality. I want to be the same person when you meet me as you think I am in my videos. And so because of that, I don't want to be the guy that you can't count on to respond to. But again, the problem is it takes a lot of time, and people have said, you should hire an assistant. No, because that's not me. Right. So that's the issue. And then on top of that, by the time I'm done responding to messages, it's usually 3 a.m. and I have to get up at 7. So then I'm trying to fall asleep between 3 and 4. I'll try to fall asleep by 4, and then I'll wake up at 7. And so I usually get 3 hours of sleep a night, and if I'm lucky, 30 hours of sleep a week.
Oh my gosh. I remember those days.
Yeah, only I'm 33, and it still's like, you're 20 in college.
It hits you different the older you get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Knight 3432 says, great idea for the intrepid interviewer to be interviewed. How do you balance the demands of your teaching and your YouTube careers? Also, if you could interview anyone, living or deceased, who would they be and why? Good luck and hope you hit 100K subs soon this year.
Wow. Subway couldn't hit that many subs if we do that.
Not with Jared.
Oh! Too soon?
Too soon.
Okay, so first off, the number one person that people want me to interview, period, is Seaton. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. He was, for the record, very nice to me when I met, and we're Battle Realm besties in the Marvel board game sense, because we both won the official Marvel board game, which I've still never opened, from the 2018 Comic-Con, and so at some point I would love to interview him. But if we're talking about human history, anybody living, this is going to be really random, but I think, given how many interviews he's done, I would love to interview Joe Rogan.
Oh, he would be a good one to interview.
Yeah, and he wouldn't be afraid to answer any questions.
He would not be afraid.
Joe Rogan or Pat McAfee, living.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah, are 2 people at the top of my list. But I think dead, and the first two names that popped in my head were a combination. Well, first, my childhood hero, because my favorite game show was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, was Regis Philbin. I would love to interview Regis Philbin. A lot of you aren't going to know who that is, but
probably not. I do.
But you know who that is. But like famous people besides Jesus, Martin Luther King or JFK would be fascinating interviews.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, and then I have a bunch of random celebrity crushes that I would line up for selfish reasons.
Fair enough. All right. Greg Gassior?
Yeah.
Gassior? I'm really bad with names,
It's
so
okay.
I apologize.
I know Greg
ahead
well.
of time. He has 2 questions. First one is, if and when Comic-Con returns to a live event, which one are you going to, and can we schedule a live stream?
Well, my experience with Comic-Con internet was horrible.
Yeah, it's really bad. I remember when I was at NYCC, it was bad. You had to go outside.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to do a successful live stream unless technology has really upgraded in the last 4 years. At the venue, now you could maybe try to do a live stream at like a public place, but it would be New York City at the end of 2022 because MCOC hasn't been back since, what, 2019?
Yeah, the year I went was the last year was the year before COVID.
Yeah, which is 2019.
The year of COVID, rather.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I remember we were all sitting outside doing AQ fights and war fights.
Which goes back to the question, what was your life like before? And I was like, well, you didn't think about that stuff. You just got to relax, which is why you, in a lot of ways, you must be feeling the most relaxed you've been in 5 years.
I really am. It's amazing. You don't, and I don't want to make this about me, but you don't realize how addicted you are to the game until you step away.
I know I'm addicted because when I'm not responding to messages or playing, I feel like I'm letting myself down.
Yeah, it's really crazy. As soon as I stopped logging in every day, I was like, huh, this is new and exciting, and I like it a lot. So the follow-up to that was, eventually MCOC will run its course. Would you ever consider starting from scratch with a new game and bringing the community with you? And I gotta say, it's really hard to bring this community with you when you start a new game.
Yeah, which is why
it's very difficult.
I would have them choose the game. I would be like, where are you guys going? But I think mostly I would still want to do interviews and live streams just to chill. And I think some people have said that they enjoy coming by. I mean, my live streams are mostly arena where I don't even look at the screen. I just answer questions. So the MCOC is on in the background. It's not even a focus of the experience. But yeah, I expected this game to die at least 3 years ago. So I'm kind of amazed. It's like a zombie. It's like a Marvel zombie.
It really is.
Yeah. But I think the funding is good, and the new CEO's already made some changes. It looks like that are way better than they've done. But it does remind me, Daily Crystal, claimed with the daily calendar, the easiest change in the world. Everyone I've told to has been like, that's a great idea, and then it never happens. We lose 20 daily crystals, which you could get to be Thronebreaker. Those are some amazing rewards you lose out on. Just because, again, it's another thing you have to claim. And every minute you don't claim it, you lose a minute for the next day.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad that you forgot. Or you feel frustrated you didn't have time to log in. Or maybe you didn't have the service to log in. You shouldn't be punished because you're not logging in at the exact second every day. That just creates another addiction cycle and guilt if you forget to do it.
Yeah. That's such a great idea.
And so easy. Don't tell me you can't do that.
It's so easy. Just do it.
Just do it. Come on, people, just do it.
Okay. So, Able6669 asks, what content has been the absolute most difficult for you to complete over the years, and what helped you pass that barrier if it wasn't Unit Man?
Well, first off, most content's been difficult. There are people who record my deaths when I fight live and just loop them for fun. Which, again, I feel like the average summoner is going to be able to admit that they get wrecked, right? The hardest content I've ever done, at least it felt like, was that stupid gauntlet fight against Terrax.
Yeah.
I was so mad. That was way harder than anything that I did on live on the Abyss. Way harder. But I think a lot of Act 6 is also BS. That's more... It's not fun. It's just it's like pulling teeth. And so I just haven't done it. Yeah. And Katie felt the same way, which is why she didn't do it. And I'm sure you feel no guilt whatsoever that you maybe never will do it.
No.
But people look at you if you're an in-game player, you have to clear all content. The new variant, I tried it. I got one path done, and I thought, this is stupid. I just haven't thought about it since then.
I think that was part of the start of the breaking point for me was that new variant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm also the guy that, growing up playing something like the American football game Madden, I would play on the easiest difficulty and win 80-0. And do mostly all trick plays. And I would have so much fun because it was easy and I got to relax. I don't get excited about the hardest content because I don't want to feel like a failure at the end of my day. Like, I play games. The real world is going to make you feel like a failure on its own. I don't want my entertainment to reinforce that.
That's fair. That's fair. Mighty DZA says, Prof, great content as always. The world wants to know, if you worked at Kabam and were in charge of deciding what the coming next year for every year I can remember unreleased Masteries are, what areas of the game would you have them address?
So you think they mean like including Masteries or just in general improvement?
I think anything and everything.
Okay, well, let's start with Masteries, since the word mastery was in the question. They said that they would do this, a year ago, and then they kind of just did the Men in Black mind eraser thing where they tried to make us forget.
The neuralizer?
Yeah, the neuralizer. Well, I haven't been neuralized. This brain remembers those posts. Let's talk about them. First thing is, we need, for Nexus crystals that aren't just 3 options, we need at least 5 options per Nexus crystal, because the crystal is way bigger now in terms of the basic pool than it was at the start, but the crystal itself hasn't expanded. So Nexus crystals need more than 3 options, and Katie, I know you probably didn't log into the game this weekend, but they did something new that was actually really cool, where you open 1 crystal and you get 2 champions per crystal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was cool, right? So if you're not going to give us a Nexus, give us a couple extra champions, because it also helps with gold and ISO.
Yeah.
So the Wish Crystal in general, though, like the coolest thing we saw all of this past year was that they gave us a choice, but it was way too expensive for people who couldn't afford it. Every champion that was made in 2020, and then you got to choose one. So there was 100% guarantee that one of your favorite champions. And if Kabam does a good job and makes, I don't know, let's say 8 incredible champions per year, you're going to still not be able to choose 7 of the 8. So it's not like you get everything you want, but you get one of them. So it's almost a debate on which one do I want, but you have full control over that choice. We need more of that, where you're not going to automatically collect all the champs, but you still get control. I also think other games have this, I've been told. If you spend a certain amount of money, you're eventually guaranteed to get that 6-star champ. The RNG works out now where you could spend $10,000 on featured calves and not get the 6-star.
Yeah, so Apex kind of works that way with their Apex packs and heirlooms. You're guaranteed an heirloom after 500 packs.
Okay, and maybe Kabam has to make it 1,000, but we've seen people open 3,000 crystals and somehow not get them. It's ridiculous, which also means I would buff the drop rates. Again, my dream, if I was waving a magic wand, would be to take all 3 stars out of Cavalier crystals. That's a desecration. You're telling us you can't bring in 4 stars and below to even become Cavalier, but you can still get them in Cavalier crystals?
Yeah, I think that should have been probably once they introduced the Thronebreaker title and the Cav crystals came out, that should have been the number one thing to be added onto that list, because you're not going to be using them anyways. They're going to give you, it would just make more sense, to be honest, because then it'll give you the 5-star shards for a dupe, right? Which is what you can use, so.
But they thought it would break the economy of the game because you'd get too much ISO, even though they really need to buff, speaking of improvements, the ISO that they give you for 6 stars. And if you somehow spent the money and the time to max sig a 6-star, which is still really hard to do at this point in the game, they should give you a much better drop rate version of the max sig ability crystal that the 5 stars get, where you actually have a real chance to, say, get 5-star Immortal Iron Fist or 6-star Immortal Iron Fist. It's not going to break the game. They just haven't done that. The other thing besides the Wish Crystal they haven't done, because I didn't want to forget that I talked about it, when it comes to Masteries, they really do need to give us a chance to just select 3 of our favorite builds and then spend X amount of units to immediately go from one to the other in the click of a button.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The Mastery presets is what I used to refer to them as. To have 3 separate builds that you could run would make life so much easier, right? Because let's say you want to, grind for a champion and you don't usually run the Suicide Masteries and you want to turn those on, then you just, click of a button. Here you go. Suicide Masteries on for when you do that run, and then turn them off for AW or AQ or whatever builds you choose to have,
Yeah, bingo. Huge quality life improvement besides the most requested quality of life improvement in the history of the game, which is a help all button, which I guess would maybe break the game, they've said, but still, that's we hear you. I get that almost every
I
week.
think that would more or less break the servers.
Yeah.
I think they just need to do away with that and just incorporate loyalty into like the alliance objectives instead of, you know, the helping, because honestly that help all, or the help for the arena was just it wasn't that great.
No.
I was never a big fan of it.
Speaking of improvements, I think for people who are Cavalier and above especially, arena milestones instead of Grandmaster crystal shards should include regular Cavalier crystal shards. That would make the arena so much more rewarding and fun, because you know you can have a chance for a free 6-star Nexus with the grind. And we already get that as Thronebreakers every day for logging in for Cavalier crystals with our calendar. So don't tell us that we can't get those free, because we get them free for doing no work just from the daily calendar. So that would be a huge improvement. Another huge improvement that I am so passionate about is my experience with War back in the day when I did it, and I've been Alliance War sober and proud for like 3+ years, is you would face the same enemy or the same 1 or 2 or 3 enemies on the same node over and over again. But part of the problem is you would basically have to practice it in the middle of war. If you really want a good practice mode, be able to choose like 3 or 4 nodes and the hardest defender that you can do, so you're practicing that Alliance War fight with no stakes in real time. Yeah,
that's a kind of cool little QOL update, or change rather.
Yeah, so that's a request. And then I've said this more and more, but we gotta have better inventory caps than what they have now. Another thing that really ticked me off this weekend, Katie, is that they gave us these new romance-only potions and revives and team potions and team revives that don't expire. And they automatically made the inventory cap for them 75.
But if they don't expire, then why do they need to have a cap at all?
That, plus they said in past posts that part of the reason why we had inventory caps was because it limited the amount of items we could hold, which freed up server space. But now all of a sudden they're saying that 75 can be a limit for an item. Well, then why not make everything at least 40 and give people the ability, like the fact that we can hoard more tier 2 alphas than tier 1 alphas, whoever thought that should automatically be fired if they're not already fired. Like, it makes no sense. If you play the game, it makes no sense. You need 5 tier 1 alpha just to take a 5-star to rank 2. You don't even start using tier 2 alpha until rank 4. And yet, you can hold 15 tier 1 alpha and 20 tier 2 alpha. So, yeah, the whole system makes zero sense, and it feels like it was designed by somebody who just wanted money and has no idea how the game actually works.
Yeah, that's a bit silly. Yeah, I do think the whole infrastructure when it comes to resources needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah, well, they had 2 bad presidents. The inventory caps, the numbers they chose in general, and then the fact that they only could even be expanded if you bought the Black ISO store monthly, which ticked a lot of players off.
Yeah. I remember that. All right. So Dylan Weldy says, did you ever think your YouTube channel would have ever been a success as it is now when you first started? Also, have you ever thought about stopping posting MCOC content and just stick with teaching? Love your content and everything that you do. Keep up the good work.
Well, thanks, Dylan. So the truth of the matter is, if you go back in time and tell me what my channel is now, I would pass out. I would feel like I just won the lottery, because I feel that way every day now, and I've had time. Like, I still don't believe this is real. It always feels like tomorrow is going to be the end. And so I kind of just treat it that way. And I was, for those of you who don't know, suspended for 3 months for kind of a very big dramatic thing that YouTube ended up basically admitting that they made an error on, but they couldn't correct it. And part of the reason why they changed their suspension terms for live streams and things was to avoid what happened to me happening to anybody else. So yay.
It was so silly. YouTube made a big blunder.
They did, and they ended up kind of admitting it, but it still cost me 3 months of broadcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a tremendous amount. So when I started my YouTube channel, I did something really, really dumb. I took on Seaton. Because Seaton said that Void was going to be the first God tier science champ, and I thought that was blasphemy, because Quake was the first God tier science champ, and because I felt like I had nothing to lose and nobody was going to ever watch me anyway, I just went straight at him, but I did a couple stupid things. I took his thumbnail and tweaked it. That's an amateur move. Shouldn't have done that.
That's a very amateur move.
Oh, yeah. Like, trust me. I'm still embarrassed to say that. But, you got to talk about your failures in life, right? And then, now I will say this. And this is something I am proud of. Guess where Quake ended up on Seaton's tier list eventually?
We all know the answer.
Not even just God tier. Beyond God tier. But the same people who said, Prof, Quake is trash and your opinion's trash, those same people never came back to me and said, hey, it turns out you were right. Maybe you went about it the wrong way, but you were right. They just didn't say anything, right? That's the world we live in. If you disagree with somebody and you in the moment you can say horrible things, and then if it turns out that they're right, you just pretend they didn't exist in the first place. But I know where my bae stands. She shook up the contest when she was released, and she's still shaking it up today. Although we haven't gotten a 6-star because apparently Kabam's terrified that she'd break the game as a 6-star.
Kind of would.
I want to break it with her.
Let's see. Oh, Cole Downey says, have you ever had a student that plays MCOC and knew you via your stream before having you in class?
Are you ready for a good story? Because it's pretty.
I listen. I've got my imaginary popcorn ready. Let's go.
So first off, my students have only watched me for one purpose, and that is to make my broadcasts into an interactive drinking game. I
love that so much. Hello, why have they not messaged me?
Especially because they told me, I didn't even know what Wine Wednesday was until they were trashed commenting on a live stream Wine Wednesday, go Pokes. But the answer with students is no. This is what gets weird. I had a student once that came up to me afterwards and it was like, I was sitting in a desk and I kept thinking, why do I know his voice? This is really weird. And then it hit me toward the end of the first lecture. My 8-year-old brother watches his channel and plays the game he plays. My little brother, it's his favorite YouTuber. This is like a 20-year-old sophomore in college. So the closest I've ever been to being famous for one of my students is that their little brother that they probably have no respect for and are annoyed by watches me. It's sort of like if you tell somebody, hey, I'm a YouTuber, they're kind of impressed, but the moment you say anything about Marvel, they look at you like you just committed to being a sex offender. Like that's the look you get if you say it's a game. They look at you like, does this guy interact with children? Should he be on a list? And it's like, no, it's a family game. But it's too late because they've looked at you and labeled you as the YouTuber that plays with comic books.
Which there is nothing wrong with that.
Well, the irony is most of my audience are adults. It's just that people who don't play games still look at superheroes and comic books like what little boys play with when they're, in a playpen or something.
Some people do look at it that way, but the cool people know.
That's right.
Comics are amazing. Speaking of comics, Jordan D says, or asks, I keep saying says. See, this is why you're the journalism professor and I'm the environmental engineer.
You're making way more than I am, so you get the last laugh.
Which comic book champs do you think could be added that would have a different play style to anything currently in the game, like Quake, Tigra, Ghost, etc.?
Now, it's interesting, because usually it's what champions do you want added, but this is specifically a play style. I do think, this is going to sound dark, but my Professor X that I grew up with is in a wheelchair. He's like MODOK 3.0. And I think like Professor X truly in the game could be a completely different play style. It could be like a combination of Professor X currently in the game and Emma Frost and MODOK all at once. But I still say we have so many Spider-Man villains that could change up the game. I still think Doc Ock could have an even more different play style given his comic book lore,
Sandman would be one to have a completely different type of play style.
And he could get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that joke was too grating.
It was a little coarse.
Oh, she's learned, y'all. That's why we're better on besties.
That's why.
But Shocker
Shocker would be a good one.
Could be like Scorpion. But my answer to this question, and knock on my desk, it's going to happen. How different, like Nightcrawler 3.0, would Morbius be?
Listen, I've wanted Morbius for a long time, so.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully the people watching this are just nodding their heads. They know what's up.
Morbius would be a fantastic one. Dracula as well. They could all have a different type of play style, right? So
I also
it would be
feel
interesting.
Like if you really want to make somebody different, buff Thanos to be Thanos and then see what happens.
Make Thanos.
Yeah, just have his awakened ability be oh snap.
Oh snap!
Too soon?
I love it. That's so good. So Mama Bear wants to know, if you could make one change to the game, what would it be? And have you ever regretted posting a video?
Oh, all the time. The Daily Crystal really is the thing I'm most passionate about, just because I think it would help everybody. But besides that, having the drop rates this year changed permanently to 4.5% for a 6-star and 24% for a 5-star instead of randomly seeing that on side quest crystals or daily crystals. The difference in longevity when you're opening a quantity of crystals between 3% and 4.5% is actually a huge difference. And so for the immediate, make all the crystal rates the same and buff them to the best drop rates we've seen. That would help the most people right now. But in the future, I do think it's having opportunities to have weekly Nexus crystals where you have 5 options and more opportunities to get class-based specific Nexus crystals, not just on the rare Cyber Weekend or July 4th. I've already talked about my Seaton regret, especially how I handled the thumbnail. But sometimes I'm just hilariously wrong. And KT1 talked about why he also leaves the bad videos up because he doesn't want people to think that he's trying to, like, deny that he did something. Because when you make a mistake, and, like, sometimes I will take down videos if what I interpreted was just flat out false. But, like, I have a video out there, it exists, that stated that I thought the next Beyond God Tier Defender was going to be Ghost because of how I interpreted her phasing. I thought Ghost was going to be like Nightcrawler 3.0.
Well, I think that's fair. That's fair.
Well, it was until the champ came out, and then it looked hilariously awful. So, yeah, I regret saying that. And yet, at the same time, it's an important reminder that that's why I've stopped making predictions. People will say now, Prof, what champions are you excited for next month? I'm like, I have no idea. Let's see how they are. And what I've also regretted doing is assuming champions are OP, like Proxima Midnight, without learning ramp-up time, but also, most importantly, you can fight this OP Cavalier boss because they're on freaking steroids with all these nodes. But then you take away the nodes, and it's like fighting a wet noodle in a swimming pool, right? Like, you'd have a harder time fighting a box of graham crackers. So you don't really know. And I've learned, and look, I have a lot of respect for many, I'm not going to say all, but many members of the CCP. But sometimes they do the community a disservice by overhyping a champ, which then makes somebody buy the champion, and it turns out they felt deceived.
That's why when I did my reviews on champions, I always gave, when I was in the CCP, I always gave my honest opinion on them. If I thought they were bad, I said they were bad.
And that's why people miss you, because the more that YouTubers like yourself leave, the more it feels like every champion is like, oh no, they're a bad champion. They're only God tier. And it turns out it's like, oh no, unless you meant God was trash.
But yeah, I do agree with that. And that's always been a problem, and that probably will continue to be a problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I like that. I like those answers. Those were good.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. I'm ready. Put me in. Anthony Marcus has kind of like a fun idea, and I would totally be down for this if it wasn't MCOC related. But Anthony Marcus asks, would you be interested in a players summit in any way? Maybe a panel with you and 4 other content creators having a no holds barred discussion about the state of the game or any other topics concerning MCOC.
One, as long as Katy Candy was on it. But that sounds epic. I mean,
it sounds so fun.
That's kind of what Comic-Con is if you've never been. You go to panels, and there's a panel discussion.
Yes.
But the problem is Kabam usually controls those panels. Do you think Kabam's going to let anybody on the panel that's going to say anything negative about him on this? Heck no. It's public relations 101. But if you're going to talk about something that Kabam doesn't control, yeah, I would be very, very interested in that. I always say the more voices, the better. Part of the reason why I'm so passionate about inspiring other people to start YouTube channels is that because I view myself, and I know Katie likes to say too, like we're the bestest, most okay players. Like if we can succeed, anybody can succeed. It just takes hard work and dedication. I think anybody can upload videos for like a week or a month, but doing it over multiple weeks and months, over years, that's a different story that burns a lot of people out.
It can burn you out, and it's a big time commitment. Like, you know, friends will be like, "Hey, I'm going out. You guys want to come out?" And it's like,
But I will say this, as burnt out as I am, and I already talked, if you missed it earlier and you're just catching this now, how I'm able to, every video I'm making right now is just going towards a fund to help my mom. But I have way more fun, even when I'm stressed, playing the game and making YouTube videos than I would taking care of a kid. Or being in like a traditional marriage where instead of doing 4 YouTube videos and broadcasting, I'm spending 2 hours at the grocery store racking up a $500 bill. And so I'm in my 30s. I'm not married. Don't have any kids. I am happily in a new committed relationship that's not to the game for once. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, if I had a choice between doing this for the rest of my life or doing the normal life of wife, kids, family, I would choose this every time because it makes me happy and it's a lot less stressful and I can sleep at night knowing that I'm still getting to do what I love. Yeah, it takes up all my time, but it's fun. And sometimes when you get to be an adult, people say the word adulting, which still makes me uncomfortable because it sounds way too like the word adultery. But
I always say adulting.
Yeah, but adulting means having to do stuff you don't want to do that's responsible, like pay bills and, you know, do things you didn't think about as a kid. Well, you can still be a kid when you're an adult. You just have to refuse to compromise. And that's, and I know, Katie, we've talked about that privately too, how much we agree with that.
100%. Okay, let's see here. So I think this is a really good question, and it's kind of dealing with rank up, but I think it's a really good one. When should players stop using rank up resources on 5-star champs, even if they are beyond God tier?
Never.
Exactly.
Never. The most overhyped rank up resource in the game is anything to do with 6 stars because, well, 2 things. One, it's only gotten more expensive to rank them up, not less, because Kabam realizes now that we have rank 4 6 stars and unfortunately soon to be rank 5s, that 6 stones and awakening gems actually become more valuable because the potential for that champion to have a higher attack and health pool goes up, therefore making that champion more powerful and costing them money because, in theory, the more powerful a champ is, the less money Kabam's going to get because you don't have to spend money on revives because you've got this crazy powerful champion. So, at the same time, 5-star rank ups are a joke now. Like, I was talking about this weekend how somebody who was level 5 that was seeing the Grandmaster level offers for the Romance store could go from having like 1 and 2-star champions. Like, think about the greater gifting crystals for Conqueror players and how they could be throne breakers for like 4 weeks based off of just opening those crystals.
Oh, yeah.
So, with that being said, I have seen every piece of content cleared by 5 stars only. And I believe, truly, if you can clear a 4 million health, 4 million overall rated boss with a 565, what's to say that you can't clear an 8 million rated and 8 million health boss with a 565? It might take twice as long, but they're still going to be dependable. And the resources, especially you free-to-play players watching this or casual spenders, the resources to take those champions to rank 5, to stick 200 to awaken them, are pennies on the dollar from what they used to be, whereas 6 stars are going to cost you way more. And if you put a 30% greater champion boost in a 565 5-star, that's like a rank 3 6-star. So you're getting to rent the same equivalent for, again, pennies on the dollar for what other people are paying thousands for. So you can just laugh at those people, if nothing else, because you know that you're getting the same output for an insanely low fraction of the cost in terms of cost-benefit analysis of resources. So never stop ranking up 5 stars, and don't buy into the idea that if you don't have a rank 3 or rank 4 6-star team, you can't clear content. It's a lie, and it's there just to make you feel either bad about yourself or to spend money you don't really have to or shouldn't spend.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Can you tell I'm a little passionate about that?
A little bit. I like it. Okay. And Jordan D also has another question that I really like is, who would be your top 3 champs to overhaul?
Oh, to overhaul. Well, the first 2 I call the Prof Hall of Shame.
Prof Hall of Shame. I love it.
Because a combination of Iron Package that only celebrates every year by basically fireworking himself and Groot are, I don't know how they're still not fixable. I don't know how Groot and Iron Package are the way they are. But in general, besides those 2 champions, it kills me inside that I could be opening crystals with my family and I get an Avenger like Iron Man or Captain America, and they're like, oh my gosh, you pulled Captain America. I'm like, yeah, I did. Dang it.
Hooray.
And they're like, what? Shouldn't you be freaking out? I'm like, yeah, in theory I should. OG Spider-Man should be absolutely game-changing to land on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're like misses, right? And somebody like Blade was a million times. I'm saying Blade's not powerful in comics, but Blade shouldn't be more powerful than Thanos, right? Nick Fury shouldn't be more powerful than OG Captain Marvel.
No.
And that's why there's like this belief in the community that if they're really good in the comics, they're going to suck in the game and vice versa. So the OG Avengers, I still think Scarlet Witch might be the exception and maybe Thor, those 2, but they could still get 75% of what they had back from pre-patch 12.0. But in general, if you took the Captain Americas back to where they were, Doctor Strange back to where he was, Black Widow back to where she was, they not only wouldn't break the game, they would still not make the top of their class. It's just all of the arguments, and KT1 did a great job also talking about this when I interviewed him on the channel. All the arguments for why they nerfed those champions in patch 12.0 have been contradicted and corrected by other future OP champs that they've made a ton of money off of. So all the reasons why they nerfed them are now irrelevant. And as a community, we deserve to have Avengers that are truly superior and not inferior Iron Man and others.
For sure. I agree. 100%.
I feel like we're on the same political team. Like we're like
justice for the OGs.
That's right. It's good.
So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of a couple of these questions because Shark Puppet and Alex Havoc, they're 2 similar questions. One is, who's your favorite champ in the game? And the other is, what's your all-time favorite superhero from DC and or Marvel?
Okay, so favorite champ in the game, Quake's always going to be my bae. But I think the champion that the first time I got him and awakened him and used him, and part of this is because I run full suicides, but like, Omega Red just melts so many people. That
he does.
Like, the first time that I fought Korg with Omega Red, I shed a tear. Because it was actually an easy fight. And it was fun. Same with somebody as annoying as Domino or MODOK, right? Or Medusa. Like, Omega Red just makes the game more fun because it makes some of the hard fights like a cheat code.
Yeah.
I'm really excited, knock on wood, that I can actually form one for my first rank 4 6-star to be Corvus. Because the first time that I got 4 missions and used them, I was like, are these yellow numbers typos? You know?
Especially in incursions.
Oh, yeah, especially in incursions.
Mm-hmm.
And then Katie and I have talked about this too, but I don't think there's anyone more fun to use once you get a max comboed or even a middle comboed banked Aegon.
Yeah. It's just silly.
It's silly, but that's fun. And I think the game, like, you want to get to that point where it feels silly because you know you've earned the right to use a champion that's silly. So that's my team. What was the second question of that?
Who's your favorite superhero from Marvel and or DC?
I mean, this is going to be kind of... I'll give, like, the standard answer, which is really true, because I grew up... My two favorite cartoons growing up, besides, like, the OG Power Rangers from the 90s, which hopefully some of you remember that. But Batman and Spider-Man, always. My goal was to always have... Even though now it's... like, the intelligence and monetary resource of Bruce Wayne. Never going to happen. And then, like, the wit and the photography passion of Peter Parker, because Peter Parker inspired me to be a photojournalist, which then inspired me to be a real journalist, and now I teach photojournalism, video production, etc. Which also, I get my channel's fast food. It puts out content quickly, and there isn't a lot of editing involved. But that's because I produce 7 videos a day. My students have 2 weeks to do 1, sometimes 30-second video. So I can teach how to filet mignon a video and still produce McDonald's, you know? You can do both.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys all remember my 6-minute or less videos, right?
Great video series.
Those took from start to finish, from recording footage to editing it all together and putting in the animations and everything, anywhere between 12 and 16 hours.
Ooh. I do want to say, to piggyback off that, I used to spend at least 2 hours editing each 5-star hunt, back when 5-star hunts were like the thing to put out.
Yeah.
And I even used to slow the video down and make it real dramatic right before the crystal landed, and I put the champions I was hunting in the sidebars. Those videos would get more hate and more dislikes than if I just recorded it straight from the broadcast and put it online, because I've learned that people wanted to see it in real time like they were opening it on their own phone. And so I was spending all these hours editing videos, thinking that I was doing this great thing, and I was getting more hate from it versus if I'd done 0 editing at all. So that's part of also why I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to put a video up. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. But people appreciate efficiency more than they appreciate amazing editing. Now, of course, there are plenty of disclaimers or plenty of examples where that's an outlier, such as The Analyzer being the greatest editor I've ever seen, or Dork Lessons, which is incredible at editing. But I'm not that guy, so you get what you get.
I like it. All right, so now I'm going to piggyback off those for 2 of my questions.
Here we go. I will not give out my social security number.
I already have that.
No wonder why the voodoo doll is so maniacal.
Who are your favorite 3 champions in the game?
Okay, so again, I think the unholy triumvirate of Omega Red, Quake, and Corvus run it well. But lately, I mean, I am trying to learn the Tigra Kitty Pryde Ghost synergy. That's like one of my next goals. But in terms of cheat codes, and Aegon would certainly be on that list, the newer ones that I've been like, oh my gosh, this champion is just laughably OP. Immortal Abomination.
Mm-hmm.
I still say when I run Suicides and I fight someone like Electro, Max Sig Namor is a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you've got the synergy, and I know that's key, I just love parry heavying, using Cable against almost anybody with the degen stacks. And just laughing.
With the APOC synergy?
Yeah, with the APOC synergy.
Yeah.
It's just laughing, right? Just laughing. It's just
melting.
Just melting him like Omega Red. And you don't have to do anything besides watch him melt. You don't have to fire off any specials. Also, honorable mention with the APOC synergy, OG Wolverine with the bleeds.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, so good.
All right, so who are we picking as the 3 then?
I think the final... Because I did list more than 3. The final...
Yeah, he listed like 9.
I mean, I think if I had to say just in general 3 would be Quake, Corvus, and Omega Red. But if that's too standard, kind of like saying your favorite...
No, okay. It's whoever you want it to be.
That's fair. Those are my 3.
All right, Quake, Corvus, and Omega Red?
Yeah. All
right, of those 3, buff, nerf, delete.
Okay. This is going to kill me. Buff, Corvus. Nerf, Quake. Delete, Omega Red.
Ooh.
She can't see me, but like I didn't have a soul before that question, but now I don't have a heart. My heart's gone. It left my body.
I'm sorry. Not really.
She's not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
No.
I'm not sorry.
Ugh.
I had to say it. Say it.
I don't mean it.
I had to ask it. I just had to. So, I think we've got like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, sure.
So let's see. Double R wants to know, with all the issues with Kabam starting with 12.0, was there one thing they did where you said to yourself, that's it, I'm done with this game, not playing anymore? Also, is your alliance the best in the game? Or the best is the game?
Well, my alliance is the best in the game in terms of they have the perfect mission, which is take great players and OP rosters and make them still have fun and do map 5 and maybe a little map 6 and be able to retire, I guess, potentially. But yeah, it's the best retirement alliance out there, but we're not the best alliance. I mean, but besides that, are you back? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh no, the Oklahoma internet died.
No, you were coming through clear on my end.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you sounded almost hollow, and I was like, oh. Okay,
oh
good.
No.
So, what was the first question of that? Not the alliance part, but the
12.0. Was there one thing that they did after starting with 12.0 where you said to yourself, that's it, I'm done with this game, not playing anymore?
So I used to have nothing but love for the game. The first 2 years I played, before patch 12.0, they hadn't ever done anything to really lose my trust. But around Christmas, and this could have been, good grief, Christmas of 2016 maybe, they gave for the first time ever for like $100, and I had never spent anywhere close to anything on this game or anything like that, $100 for a choose your own 4-star awakening gem. And I realized at that moment, I can finally awaken my Scarlet Witch. And so I spent $100 to awaken my Scarlet Witch, and then 2 months later, they nerfed her.
Ooh.
I was so mad, and I felt like I had been ripped off so badly. And a lot of people did leave the game and request refunds of all the purchases they ever made in the game. That's why Kabam now controls the refund system, because they had no control at that point of doing anything to those accounts. And they lost a lot of money that way. But I had told myself I was walking away from the game when I visited my identical twin, otherwise known on this channel as Prof. Box. I told them that I was retiring, which he made so much fun for me, because if you tell somebody you're retiring from a mobile game, it sounds like you think you're an athlete or something, and you're not.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
people are kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, you can't tell like a normal person that's using the word retirement for a game. They're just going to look at you like you're crazy, and maybe you are. But I had made the plan to delete the game, and that's when he said, well, because I had saved a bunch of crystals, I was going to open all my crystals, and I was going to delete the game. And then he said, well, you might as well record that video. So I recorded it, and then the next day I had more views on that video, despite how horrible the quality was, than most any of the pizza and Oreo videos I'd ever reviewed on my YouTube channel for like 8 years. And so, when I was determined to delete the game was when I started my channel, and 5 years later, it's going stronger than ever. So the irony is, yeah, I not only reached that point, I was going to go through with it, and then the community came a-calling, and 5 years later, I'm still very proud to be of it. I never thought that I would be brought up in terms of like the main MCOC YouTubers. I just wanted to have a seat at the table, even if it was like the kiddie seat. And I hope and pray that that's what I've been able to do. I've accomplished it, every goal I've ever wanted to. If people just sometimes bring up my name as somebody that you might want to check out on YouTube to get a different perspective, especially on offers.
Yeah, no, I think your offers are great. And we all know that the CEO of Kabam, she's not a fan of them.
Oh, I wonder how much money I've cost Kabam with my honest offer reviews. Probably billions, hopefully.
Hopefully. All right, I have one last question for you, Prof.
Okay.
Inquiring minds want to know, and you don't have to answer, but I'm still going to ask it.
I'm going to answer. I'm open book.
Is it boxers or briefs?
All right, so there's a Venn diagram to this question. and ironically, I won't be brief. Growing up, it was briefs. I think it was because of like Home Alone or something. I don't know. But I found, this is going to be the most nerdy answer possible. You would not have believed it. I got new boxer briefs that are Marvel themed.
Oh, that's awesome.
At a Ross in Portland, Oregon. That half of them were Avenger themed and half of them were Spider-Man themed. So if I had to make a choice, I'd go boxers now, but the boxer briefs are the most channel-like because they're marvelous, literally.
I love it. That's awesome.
So thank you so much. I don't know, how many people watch this. I thought that nobody wanted this, but when people said I'm not actually joking, I'd like to see it. Katy was immediately willing to do this, and so Katy, thank you so much. And I've reached out to Karate Mike. He hasn't gotten back to me. Tell him to check his Twitter DMs because we've always had good conversations back and forth, but I just don't think he's seen my message. And then I am going to reach out to Rich the Man. Seaton's going to be a tough person to track down. I think Dork Lessons works for Kabam, so he couldn't do it, and Brian Grant's already declined, but everybody else has been up there. And if you want to see certain people, have me interview them. Maladar, I'm going to interview to talk about the dark side of the game and all of the craziness and the shadiness that's gone on the last 5 years in a special interview in the next month, too.
I can't wait for that one. Maladar's a fun guy.
Oh, yeah. And he said he would share all knowledge he knows of cheating, backstabbing, black markets, everything. It's going to probably be the most journalistic-like interview I've ever conducted.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait.
All right, y'all. Thanks again to Katy, and thanks again for watching this. Whoever you want me to interview, put in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button. Why, Katy?
'Cause it's free.
'Cause it's free. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.